So we've just finished the TimberCal settings configurations. The next best thing to do is to understand the follow-up builder. This is basically a follow-up sequence for all of your quotes and the like. So orders have their messaging handled by the message templates, so such as invoicing, I'm on my way, the job's complete. The follow-up builder is how you nurture the client from getting a quote to wanting to set up a time for the quote to schedule the order, and then also giving them information once that quote is scheduled. So if you have a delivery scheduled, a pickup scheduled, and then once that schedule has ended, like been performed, the next day after the schedule, it gets automatically moved to closed. Closed is how you can nurture them after your delivery. So you can say, thank you so much, it was great to service you. By the way, check out our Facebook page, leave us a review, let us know how it went. Is it working? Is the wood working for you? In a way, it's making it seem like they're really being cared for and like you really care about the product they received. And then what you can do is set up not only immediate follow-up messages, within the first 30 days, but you can also follow up maybe within 3 to 6 months to a year and say, hey, it's time, it's been a year, it's been 6 months, are you ready for more wood? So it really helps nurture them down the road. So those are the basic statuses. Then we have the draft, as well as maybe some empty ones that will make sense after I explain them. But the draft is when the customer uses the quote form that you can provide to them, where they can go online, get a quote from you, and then even schedule themselves. Each stage of that quote form will save their information and let you know, like, hey, we just got there, they got to the first page but they didn't choose any products or schedule, or hey, we got to the second page, and again, so it lets you be able to follow up with them, captures their information. Waiting for input is when you do the call screen and you enter your client information and then pick a product and you click save quote. That's where you can get a quote, and here I just made it without setting a status. It's waiting for input. And up here on the quote page, you can see all your statuses, ones that are hard-coded, but then ones that you create, you can change the status from there. So if I were to change this to open now, you're going to see, there it is, the follow-up timeline. So it shows every message that person's going to receive, and you can edit it before they get it. So you can have the phone number, you say, hey, here's the link for the delivery, and then you can say email confirmation and the like. And again, it shows you all the follow-ups, and if you want to stop them for any reason, you can. Then let's say the person calls back or responds and say, hey, I don't want it. You can say, move them to a declined status, which just sends them, a nice, hey, thanks for considering our company and and the like. What's interesting about the follow-up builder is, like I said, it will, if you add a step, you can have it change a status to say, change status to follow-up sequence. So maybe within X number of months, you'll get a new message. You can set up all these sequences however you wish, based on, timing. So just kind of go back here. And so then we have fired client. So you have a client that, you want to organize and say, hey, this guy sucks, I don't want to deal with them. So you just mark them as fired client. Or you have clients who don't want to receive your messaging, they say stop or opt out. You can move them to opt out where they get no messaging. On hold could be, let's say you're messaging and you don't want the automatic messages to go in, you can just put it on hold to follow up and change the status later. Inactive bid, I'll describe that in a second. New quote could be someone maybe they reached out through an email or you got a voicemail and you wanted to go into the call screen, fill out their information, and then save it as a new quote. Maybe it wouldn't be appropriate to start sending them messaging until the right time of day, or till you got some more until you followed up with them, you might want to put in a new quote so you can follow up with that later. And again, if you go to quotes and orders, here we have the quotes. Here we have all the orders, your service orders, your delivery orders, orders for pickup, and recurring orders. But I can go to quotes, and change the status there. And then what was I was going to follow up and say inactive bid. So let's say Steve here wants a new quote, and we'll just create it like this. See, we're going to have this plus stacking, 391 delivery, create quote, and now I have an open and a decline. So just in case I had, he had an order, it got moved to closed. Now he's going to get messaging from the open status and the closed status. So since this new one is the one we want to receive messaging, apply the messaging to, I could take this old one and put it as an inactive bid. So now he's only receiving one set of messaging instead of, two different messages going out at the same time. So that is something you have to be aware of when a client has multiple quotes, how to handle their bidding. The follow-up builder is pretty flexible. You can add, delete, turn off steps. You can send emails. You can send text messages from your email, from your phone numbers. Again, if you have Twilio enabled. If you're tech savvy, you can fire a webhook. So whether you want this to go to Zapier or a different program of yours, you can put in the webhook at a specific, maybe immediately after 5, 10, 15 minutes once that hits, or you can say 5 months after getting a quote at 9 a.m. fire a webhook, or again you can do 5 months at 9 a.m. you can send a email to the customer email. And of course you do have the ability to use placeholders, which is something you can, it's pretty intuitive, but so you can build the information as a template. So that is the follow-up messaging system. Kind of a quick dive into what is, the customer profile, how to view it, understanding that there are message templates that are basically messages you send out when they're initiated by you instead of on the schedule. Everything is editable, so you can click, put in the tokens that you want to use, make sure it looks, and so I would recommend going through the message templates, making sure they look good. Go through the follow-up builder, make sure they have the messaging you want and the steps you want, because sometimes what I would probably recommend is if they get a quote, the first 3 days, make sure you have the follow-up going. After that, you maybe want to touch in every 7, 14 days. And then, after something is open, it's going to hang at open. So you may want to add a step, like here I developed, you can say a follow-up sequence where, or a monthly check-in. So you can have a check-in for every month and then specific timers that trigger each of those sequences. So it can get pretty involved the more custom you make it, but right now what you have is essentially the boilerplate. This is how, just send out a couple follow-ups, couple messages, and then it's kind of done. Now, what you can do is, let's say you have a whole bunch of people sitting at open, that didn't schedule, or some of these others. You can click open, you can select all the quotes in that list. Let's say you have 100 clients that didn't, or people that didn't buy from you or haven't bought from you recently. You can then go to follow-ups. You can then click update status and change all of them. So then, maybe in March when you're ready to start delivering, you want to send out your March deliveries, send up a March delivery follow-up sequence. Change all the statuses to follow-up sequence, and then they're going to, because now we are under open, they're going to start getting all of that information. So hope you found this useful, and that is the follow-up builder, and we'll move on to the next one next.